Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Bruhnke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. Today we have an amazing program scheduled. Just so happy that we have five extraordinary experts who are going to be circling the globe at Beyond Borders conversation between Japan, Spain, and the US, and just a unique group of leaders who have unique special skills and knowledge that are going to take you to Japan and talk about the opportunities, take you to the US, and more holistically, what foreign direct investment Japanese companies are making there and in around the world. And we're adding a third component like we do at Global Chamber. We're not a binational chamber, we're a global chamber. And so we're adding Spain because Yuka Nakasone is our executive director in four chapters of Spain, covering the country. And you might guess from her name, she has connectivity to Japan. And we'll explain a little bit more later. We have two speakers from the Carter Ignite group, and I'd like to introduce both of them. Suzanne is one, and Adam is the second. You two know lots and lots about the market in Japan. Dom Carter and Debbie Howard from the Carter Group, and now with Carter Ignite, help companies come to Japan, first of all, to understand through market research whether their ideas and thoughts will work, then to develop the plan to be able to do that. And so they are the go-to people if you ever want to grow in Japan. And so Adam and Suzanne, why don't you kick off? The plan is to have you go for about 25 minutes. Then we're going to hear from others in the room and we'll wrap up within the 60 minutes. Adam, Suzanne, I turn the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Doug. And again, it's a pleasure to be with you all today. And for those of you who are watching the recorded session, it's a pleasure to be able to speak with you today. As Doug mentioned, I'm here with Susanna, who is our head of research and client service. And I'm the head of commercial here at Carter Ignite. I have been in Japan for about 25 years, so I may look like an Australian, but I'm actually probably more Japanese these days. But yes, it's a market that's very close to all of our hearts here at the Carter Group. And so, yeah, looking forward to sharing the opportunity with you and to hopefully helping you to come into this market one day. It's a very interesting time for the Japanese market. It's been, the world's third largest economy for many, many years. It's recently moved to fourth position, but it's still an extremely sophisticated and extremely large market, depending on the sector that you're in. So yeah, looking forward to giving you an overview of the market landscape right now, and particularly where we're focusing, which is really on addressing the mega challenges here. And so we'll highlight the challenges themselves. We'll give you an idea of the key considerations if you're planning on entering this market, and hopefully give you some insights, and start the process. And would love to hear from you at some point in your journey. Susanna, could you please share your next slide, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. So just to give you an overview of the group, we do market research for over 25 years, mainly for large companies looking to expand or add new products, etc., into the Japanese market. And recently we've spun out a consultancy called Carter Ignite, which is aimed at serving usually a lot earlier stage companies, and we do serve companies themselves. We work with governments running trade delegations into the country, and also Japanese corporations as well, looking for specific technologies. We also do a lot of work in age tech, which is one of the key sectors we're going to be talking about today. We have an initiative called Living Best serving that, and we do have a few other investments in market research technology. Delicon, you can see there. We do a lot of work in entertainment, etc. Thank you, Susanna. Next slide. So yes, as I mentioned before, basically, we are here to serve companies at every stage of their journey. It starts with research, it goes through to a go-to-market plan, and then it goes through to execution, helping you secure the capital in market, etc. Thank you, Suzanne. Just to give you a quick idea of some case studies, we'll breeze through these, but we do work with multinationals, governments, and ventures mainly. Next slide, please. Here are the sectors that we work across. Again, in the interests of time, I won't read them out. Thank you, Susanna. All right, and I'll give you a little bit more depth in terms of the UX and human-centric research that we do, but I will hand over to Susanna to do so.
Thanks, Adam. So here at Ignite, we really try to ground the research work in the human experience. So often companies have great ideas, but they often not really consider the direct application for the users. And so we pretty much help them to connect the product with the users, the user experience, to identify the product market fit. And we test their concepts really in real world environments, and often at the end scale the findings to inform the big decisions coming into the market. One example of this in action is our long-term collaboration with the Global Robotics Manufacturer and Research Institute. Here we supported the development and localization of an in-home caregiving robot for older adults by really meeting them in their real life at their homes where they do their activities and spend their daily lives, and just to uncover what are their needs, what are their challenges, and how can the product help them to increase their quality of life. And so these activities really help the client to shape the robot's design, the language, the interaction style to align with the unique cultural and practical needs of Japanese users. And we are pretty proud of this work since it was also published in a white paper last year.
Oh, this is me again, isn't it, Susanna? Yeah, this is just to give you an idea of our government experience as well. Very different kind of work that we do. Very short. Companies fly in a delegation, and we set them up with meetings with potential partners on the ground, whether they're looking for customers or investors or distributors, etc. That's the government work that we do. Thank you, Susanna. And here's an example of the market entry kind of work that we do. This is a Delicon. It's an Australian company that we ended up investing in, the subsidiary, the Japan entity, and now scaled this. And they're doing very well in the market here. Yep, we can move on, I think, in the interest of time. Thank you. Back to you, Susanna.
Thank you. And because now I really like to dive into the juicy part, the part that I work on a daily basis here. And I want to show you some market information and cultural context behind what makes Japan an exciting market for foreign companies to enter. And so let's start here with the key figures behind what we call Japan's demographic reality. And it is very well known that Japan is going through a major demographic shift with a rapidly aging population and shrinking youth segment, which creates one of the most top-heavy age structures here in the world. And that's why often Japan is called the super age society, since it's the oldest in the world. And although many countries are experiencing the effects of an aging population, Japan is often considered as a great example to study from and to learn from, to be prepared for their own major challenges in the market. And so when we look here at the chart on the right side, which we usually would call a population pyramid, since ideally it would look like a triangle, you will see here that Japan's population, though, the graph looks like a kite, with the narrowest point now at those aged 25 and under. And with 30% of the population already being over 65, that means that aging is just really shaping the market here more than ever. At the same time, though, the scarcity of young people gives younger generations more opportunities in their careers, faster progressions, and rising influence overall. Here, this is just another perspective of the demographic pressure to throw in some numbers here. So you see that with the deaths nearly doubling birth on the left side, it's quite a dramatic change and trajectory that we see here, and only immigration can partly offset the decline. And just for your information, in Japan, we still have a population of 97% Japanese. And so Japan's demographic reality really sets the stage for much of what happens next. And based on this unique trajectory, we can identify 4 macro trends that we brought to the table today that are really shaping how the country lives, works, and consumes. The first macro trend here is the changing world of work. With the working age population shrinking, Japan is facing a major labor shortage, and companies are already implementing various solutions by drawing more heavily on women, on automation and robotics, and on expanding immigrant workforce. At the same time, long-standing norms around office culture and long-time employment, as it is very well known in Japan for the past, are being questioned, especially by the younger generation, the Gen Zs, who are seeking more non-traditional career paths and flexible work arrangements. So this transformation in how work gets done is one of the most powerful forces reshaping Japan's economy today. And as the work landscape shifts, another layer of change is emerging, and that is the role of AI, as it is, of course, in other countries as well. We do a yearly survey among the general population here, and this year we ask actually people about their feelings towards AI and how they think it might affect jobs. And what really stands out here on the chart, that's why I brought it up, is that the concern about AI taking over jobs is higher among teenagers, as you can see on the left side here, 16 to 19-year-olds, and those in their 50s and 60s at the end of the chart. So that is interesting because it just reflects where people feel most exposed in the labor market, with teenagers are stepping into a future where the rules of work are shifting fast, while older workers may feel less equipped to adapt to new technologies. So as Japan leans more on automation to fill labor gaps, support and communication will be especially important for those entering and those approaching the end of their working life. The second trend is the growing power of women in the workforce. Right now, Japan has a record number of working age women in jobs, yet many workplaces still run on very traditional male-oriented systems. And that mismatch between rising participation and outdated structures is creating growing friction and the need for change. And so you might think, why is that unique? But historically, Japan had one of the widest gender gaps in employment and leadership. And so the rise in female participation is not just a social shift, it is also a structural response to an urgent economic need. And so this combination of deep demographic pressure and long-standing cultural norms makes Japan's transition quite different from what we see in many Western markets. And this trend will continue to shape Japan's economy, and it's something companies need to be aware of. As women's participation in workforce grows, so too does their spending power and their influence on Japan's market. The third trend is the growing influence of global talent and visitors. Japan is seeing, as Adam mentioned earlier, a record level of tourists coming in right now, but also of immigration that is reshaping our daily life more and more here in Japan. With the local workforce shrinking, the country will rely increasingly on foreign workers to keep essential industries running, but it's still a dynamic development here in the country, as I said, since the majority of the population is Japanese. And so this shift will bring new cultural expectations, new service needs, and new consumer segments, and companies will need to adapt to a more diverse population and a more globalized marketplace as Japan's demographic reality continues to evolve. And so the last trend looks at the rapid rise of the senior economy, where age tech comes in, where we have great pride in working in, and which we will discuss in more detail now, as it provides business opportunities a lot for foreign companies coming to the market. Understanding Japan's cultural context of aging is really critical for any foreign entrant to introduce products and services into the market that are relevant for Japanese users. So, for example, Japanese older adults, and I have talked to, I think by now, more than 600 of those, they really share a strong sense of making a contribution to society, even beyond retirement age. And in Western markets, we often hear the term ikigai, which roughly translates to your life's purpose or values. And so they really want to keep contributing to society and therefore stay often in the workforce beyond the retirement age. While I have heard Americans really look forward to the second spring, season once retirement arrives. But here many older adults get into volunteer work, for example, or as I said, stay on in their company to stay or be part of the workforce for longer. If any care is to be provided to older family members, for example, it's usually with the support of a family member, such as either their spouse or their adult children. And despite the cultural importance of caring for your relatives, it may actually be difficult to provide this care since, of course, there is the pride and the feeling of embarrassment once the kid needs to take care of the older parent. And so there's often this tension between the societal expectation that we take care of the family members here, but at the same time, family members, the older ones, don't want to be a burden. And I think there are interesting opportunities where products and services can contribute. For every foreign market entrant in this sector, it is important to be aware of the long-term care insurance system, visualized here with the graph provided by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. And I won't go too much into detail, but the system is pretty much designed to specifically target products and services that lighten the load of caregivers who provide aged or medical care. And it's important to note that this categorization here isn't set in stone, and adjustments to what is covered under the system are expected to take place within the next few years, driven by government research and private sector lobbying. One of the major changes, though, we actually expect is that the system will adjust with the volume of people just registered into the system, since the government can't sustain covering up to 90% of payments. We will gradually shift to a co-payment system, probably similar to the Western markets like Australia. So there's always room to grow even in spaces outside of the long-term care insurance coverage. So, but what does this all mean in terms of market opportunity? While the numbers speak for themselves, Japan's aging society isn't just a social challenge, it's also driving significant growth across healthcare and wellness markets. And so across household healthcare services, medical products, health tech services, digital health tech products, et cetera, we will see a tremendous growth over the next few years in terms of just the volume, monetary volume. Now, where exactly is the market growth coming from and what kind of solutions are most needed? What we see is an urgent demand for innovations that support autonomy, reduce the burden on caregivers, as I mentioned before, and allow older adults to remain in their own homes longer, what's often called aging in place. But behind that demand are broader forces at play, escalating care costs, ongoing labor shortages, and uneven levels of digital literacy, especially among older users and caregivers in care facilities. So these factors are pushing the system to evolve toward home-based, preventative, and digitally supported care models. So there's a clear and growing need for scalable, user-centric innovations, whether that is related to assistive tech, smart home solutions, or digital health tools. And it's not just in big cities that are driving the changes. We are also seeing high interest and adoption in underserved regional areas where access to traditional care is often limited. Picking up from the broader view, there are a few key demand areas that are probably interesting to be highlighted. And one of the most immediate and clearly defined areas refers to the user-friendly assistive equipment. So you might think designing or offering a user-friendly product is a given, but the definition of what a user-friendly or intuitive product is differs depending on the cultural context and the living condition. So what works in the US doesn't necessarily fit into Japan's real life environments, meaning here are compact, intuitive solutions that work in small homes and tight care facility settings are really key. And second, there's a strong appetite for solutions that address practical needs. This includes innovations in mobility aids, transfer equipment, and toilet support systems, etc. So anything that can reduce the physical strain on caregivers and improve daily care routines. And I added a few examples here that you can look up later. I'm just giving the time, I won't go into detail. The second area relates to AI-enabled or Internet of Things integrated monitoring devices. This is a space that's growing quickly, especially as facilities look for ways to enhance safety without adding pressure to already stretched staffs. There's particular high demand for discrete real-time monitoring tools. Think of wearables from companies like Omron or Wellbe, bed sensors, or AI-powered fall detection systems. So what matters most is really that these tools are subtle, easy to use, and ideally integrate into existing care platforms used here in the market. Building on that, smart alert systems are becoming a key feature. These provide real-time updates and feed into caregiver dashboards to provide staff timely and with actionable insights. So the goal of these solutions is very clear here: to support safety, autonomy, and a peace of mind, both for the individuals living alone or being cared for at home, as well as for the staff and the family members that take on the caregiving role. The third demand area covers remote and preventive care technologies. This is a quickly growing space that we see here in Japan that places more emphasis on early intervention and self-managed health. We are seeing strong interest in tools that support early detection, especially around cognitive health. These include self-assessment tools, personalized risk profiling, and apps that help individuals proactively manage their well-being before the issues escalate. Connected to that is the shift toward digital-first preventive care, telehealth, digital coaching platforms, and remote consultation tools are increasingly important, especially when they align with public health programs that are promoted and integrated here in the market. So these tools extend the reach of preventive care beyond hospitals and into the home and community, which is the interesting aspect here. And finally, what makes many of these solutions effective is that they are also engagement-driven. VR-based cognitive checkers and even esports are gaining momentum for the ability to support not just health, but also social and emotional well-being. And these tools really nicely combine stimulation with enjoyment, helping to motivate users and encourage consistency in care routines. And what's really interesting here is to see in Japan that there is a growing trend to use and integrate actually e-sport devices and competitions in senior care, with over, I think, 200 participating in those e-sports activities. And lastly, the fourth demand area is all about data-driven care management platforms, and we're seeing growing interest in these from care institutions across Japan. There's a real need for tools that can streamline care planning and cut down on administrative work. In particular, systems that help with scheduling and give staff a clearer picture of the patient's needs and in real time are in high demand. So really the integration is the key here. And finally, there's rising value in platforms that support clear data-driven communication. For example, being able to share visual summaries of care plans with families makes the process more transparent and easier to understand. And finally, I still had one demand area left here. This area is focused on something just as critical as physical care. It's related to social and emotional well-being. There's growing recognition in Japan of the importance of helping older adults maintain a sense of purpose, what I mentioned earlier, the ikigai in their life. And so tools that support emotional well-being and social engagement are highly valued, not only by the individuals, but also the family and the care providers. And at the same time, we are seeing more interest in solutions that blend technology with empathy, because there should always be a human aspect. And so this includes tools that combat loneliness or offer companionship, like interactive robots, voice restoration devices, or VR-based empathy training. And lastly, I just want to emphasize the complex ecosystem here that companies should consider coming to the market. As we have seen, there are many exciting opportunities, but it's important to recognize that adoption doesn't happen automatically. In Japan, innovation needs to move through a highly interconnected ecosystem, actually, and there are a few persistent friction points that companies need to navigate. From the user side, the key challenge is often not the access, but the actual use. So again, if it's too complex, too intrusive, or doesn't feel intuitive, it won't gain traction regardless of how advanced the technology is. And therefore, it's always good to consider some user research here as well, just to see how well the product fits. On the market side, distribution remains highly relationship driven. Awareness building requires trusted local partners who understand how to reach decision makers in care settings. And this is where we also help connect companies with the right business partners here in the market. And finally, on the regulatory side, even non-medical devices often face formal compliance hurdles, and everything from registration to documentation must be fully localized. So success in Japan often isn't just about the product, it's about the ability to align with this broader system with the right partners and the right localization strategy. And from here, I would like to hand it over to Adam, who talks a little bit about the green tech sector.
Thanks, Susanna. Yeah, I'm conscious of everyone's time as well, so I will breeze through this. We will be sharing the slides with you afterwards, but just wanted to give you an idea of another huge opportunity here right now in relation to green technology. Again, we will share the slides, so I won't read out, but the trends are heading towards globally companies, making a lot more effort towards carbon neutrality and the adoption of SDGs. Next slide, please, Susanna. Here are some of the large corporations' specific initiatives that they've put in place and are working towards actively. Next, please. And these are the focus areas: increased energy efficiency, reduction of environmental impact, etc. Thank you, Susanna. Some specific opportunity areas. Again, we're happy to have conversations. We do a lot of work in these sectors too. Next slide, please. Here are the considerations. If you are looking at the Japanese market, it's very important to make it very clear how your technology is superior to the existing options in the market. And also past traction is looked extremely favorably. Japanese are very risk averse. Thank you, Susanna. Okay, don't forget the regulatory and compliance issues. Happy to discuss these if anyone's interested. Okay, next, please. And just talking more generally about the Japan market, Susanna's already covered the key points, but yes, again, it's a dynamic market, but you make sure you localize when you come. It's not just about using ChatGPT to translate your email. You really need to do the work to understand the Japanese way and address the market in the way that they're comfortable with. And leverage trusted introductions is very important. Relationship-based market. Thank you, Susanna. I won't go into too many details here, but again, happy to discuss with anyone at any time. Next, please, Susanna. And again, yes, just some additional tips. One more click, please. Yeah, some things to be careful of when collaborating with large organizations in general. I think probably not limited to Japanese. Again, happy to discuss at another time, but I'm aware we're over time. So next slide. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. We hope it was useful. Happy to take questions if we have time for that. If not, happy for anyone to reach out anytime. We're here. We'd love to chat. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I wonder what we could do now is Kaoru Nishinakagawa is an amazing leader based in Sydney. As you can tell from her name, she spent some time in Japan, more than just a little. She's the co-founder of Innovation Dojo. She's very deeply connected in Australia, but also to Japanese companies that are in Australia. She has continued business with Japan. And Kaoru, thank you for your leadership. And I'm wondering, what response do you have for what you've seen here, and what else would you like to layer in to the conversation regarding the Japanese market as from your vantage point in Sydney?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. And Adam, it looks like we swapped our position. You said you're
Yeah,
from Australia, right? Yeah.
yeah. I used to work with Joshua as well, Flannery.
Oh,
Small
I
world.
thought so because what you presented exactly what I've been doing as well, right? Like in
Yeah,
Australia, I used to
same
build a
world.
venture for corporate in Australia. So I really loved your slide and your presentation. It's very spot on.
Yeah, thank you very
I
much.
just probably maybe talk as a Japanese from outside in looking. Probably that's my positioning to take. But yeah, like Adam and Susanna mentioned, Japan is like entering a once in a generation transformation time. So obviously the energy transition, as Adam mentioned, demographic change, as Susanna mentioned, also digital modernization, which a lot of people don't know. Japan's a little bit slow in digitization and a cash economy finally changing. Every time I go back to Japan, actually, it's more too many different payment options now. Like I'm so confused, you know. But it took a while because I still need to carry around the cash for many times. In Australia, probably 0.1% of chance you need cash. So it's a huge difference. But so what I would like to add to the comment, obviously the age tech is definitely massive and green tech is definitely massive. That's something I'm already working in these days as well. So I manage innovation fund. That's the money coming from Rio Tinto and large organizations. So we try to help the cross-cultural between Japan and Australia research collaborations. So we work a lot in green tech and a crime tech in all sort of things, and even including mining, obviously. So we try to help those researchers to work closely together so they can just accelerate a collaboration between the sectors. But on top of that, I think what I wanted to emphasize is just Japan's economy is slightly declining, and our position is a little bit declining, which is very sad. But still have a very, very good advanced manufacturing and deep tech capabilities. But a lot of like small to mid companies are not recognized globally because they're not good at promoting themselves. They're good at making great stuff. So I think that's very important to promote. Japan still have a really, really good niche important technologies which is needed globally. Something that need to be more promoted globally, and there's where a lot of collaboration opportunity lies. So probably robotics and automation. Obviously, we have a massive labor shortage in Japan. Obviously, AI is going to help, but not every that itself is not enough. That's something to we sprinkle over everything probably, but we still need a hardware too. So that's where Japan started early. They have a very good technology, hardware particularly. However, they need a collaboration to take it to next level. And semiconductors, advanced materials. Semiconductors are really close to my heart because I started my career in semiconductor. When I joined, Japan was not top number one anymore. I think that was taken over by other companies in the US and Korea, but still, Japan still has a good foundation, and I try to bring back the TSMC to Japan, all sort of things. So for all other geopolitical challenge, I shouldn't say issue, challenges. So semiconductors, advanced materials, something like Japan already have a good foundation, but they can definitely seek more support and collaboration from outside. And obviously quantum computing, hardware and applications. Australia is really one of the leading just the country actually in quantum computing. And there's a couple of really good companies exist in Australia too. And Japan's doing well as well. But again, this is the area we don't know what's the standard will be, how the standard will be, built. So that's where we can definitely collaborate if you are in this sector as well. Japanese firm actively seeking co-development and research partnership. And digital transformation, again, Japan's doing their own things and cybersecurity and cloud transformation, DX tool for logistics and HR, everything. But again, like Adam mentioned, if you have a better technologies, if you can prove you have a better technology, Japanese company happy to look at it. They're always on the hunt. However, if you have the same level of quality of technologies, they always choose to work with Japanese because the culture, language, all this, they still prefer to be with Japanese, unfortunately. So yeah, but if you can say you have a better technology, you're in a good shape. And probably I'll say agri-tech, food security, circular economy. Japan's investing heavily in supply resilience and sustainability, and agri-tech, smart farming, sensor automation. Again, that's coming from labor shortage, and Japan's climate is not best for a lot of the farming sometimes, even though we built a lot of, we develop a lot of rice and all other crops and fruits, but we heavily rely on importing those just resources. So if you can help Japan to do better way in to secure the food and that's gonna feed people in Japan. Still 125 million people there. It's not a small country. And waste to resource innovation. I think that's another sector. That's probably the area I can add to the age tech and also environment things. That's the definitely two big areas in Japan. But other than that, I can think of those areas. Maybe you might have opportunities if you're in these sectors. And again, Japan's not easy country to enter. As everyone should know in this chat already, consistency of trust is really important, but also you have to be prepared to answer ridiculous questions. They ask a lot of questions, which sounds like unnecessary in the context because they need to make sure in case. It's a culture of just in case. They need to make sure to prepare the answers just in case the client asks, just in case something happens, that just in case usually don't happen. So that's one thing that I want to make sure a lot of people understand before they go into the market, because a lot of people tell me why they're going to the detail, and that sounds not necessary. But if you already know what's coming, probably it makes you mentally prepared. So probably that's it. The conscious time too. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great information. I'd like to open up the floor for questions to the first three speakers. And while we're waiting for any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself for a few minutes. We probably are going to go a little bit over because the remaining two speakers, I don't want to limit them, give you free reign enough to be able to share. But while we're waiting for any questions for the first three speakers, I'd like to introduce Alexandra. Alexandra, thank you. Great to see you. Alexandra Scott is Global Advisor for Global Chamber. She's based in Yokohama, and she's based there because she's decided to do an immersive knowledge program to become deeply connected to the Japanese business language and business style so that she could be working in Japan. She was not born in Japan. She wants to and is interested in being engaged in an employment situation in Japan after the 10 months. And so, Alexandra, how is it going?
Yeah, thank you, Doug, and thank you for the introduction. So very nice to meet everyone here. I know I've met a bunch of you before, but good to see some new faces as well. Um, but overall, things are going good. Big kanji test today, so just prepping for that. But yeah, overall, as Doug mentioned, I'm Alexandra, and I was born and raised in Phoenix. I got connected with Doug through because he kindly allowed me to participate in an internship with Global Chamber, and then eventually to come back and do some more work with them after I graduated from Pomona in California. And yeah, now I am at my language program in Yokohama at the Inter-University Center, which is affiliated with a bunch of different colleges in the States. And I'm about halfway through. The program goes until next June. So just kind of grinding out the kanji and the grammar and all that for the next 10 months. But overall, been doing well. And then, yeah, keeping an eye open for any opportunities. I want to say thank you to the Carter Group for presenting today because I have a big interest in localization and in market research for Japan. And so I'd love to keep in touch and learn more about your work. I think the individual approach that you take, especially with the age tech, maybe interviewing like people in Japan one-on-one, that seems like a really, really amazing approach. So love to learn more and thank you for your presentation and your time.
Yeah, let's connect.
Yeah,
You're in Tokyo.
sounds
You're in
good.
Yokohama. It's close, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yokohama, kind of like Minato Mirai area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure.
So Alexandra mentioned she was an intern at Global Chamber. I could say that she's probably the best intern we've ever had because when she left, we had Japanese members asking, "Whatever happened to Alexandra? We miss her." And
Oh.
she has a unique ability not just to be really smart, but to connect with people at a deeper level. Very just a spectacular personality, and I think really ideally suited for Japan. So I think she's on a great path, and whatever she ends up doing next will be amazing. We're just very lucky to have her as our global advisor, and all the help that you've provided, Alexandra. Thank you. Really appreciate you very much.
No, thank you, Doug, and thank you for all the opportunity you've given me.
Does anybody have any questions or comments before we move on? And that's okay. Yes, I see a
I
hand. Beautiful American English.
English. Yes. Hi, my name is Christopher Phillips, and I'm a new member here, and my company is called Beautiful American English. I have been hearing about these huge industries. I have the smallest industry that exists because my product is delivered one on one. I teach advanced English language, speaking, accent, and writing. And for the last 20 years, I've been a specialist in Japanese speakers. About 40% of my business has always been Japanese speakers. I have a degree from Yale in Asian history and languages. Japanese speakers are my thing. And so what I'm trying to find is how not to sell a huge product, but how to get an introduction to a Japanese company whose employees need better English. I teach over Zoom, so I'm in every time zone in the world. I teach in Tokyo and in Osaka, so I am used to this. But I'm just trying to get some kind of an introduction to a Japanese company. So I thought I would put that out there, and my information is in the chat.
Okay. Why do you feel pressure, Yuka? I saw
Oh,
your comment.
because he said he was focused on the Japanese speakers, and I know Anita had some kind of correction proposal for me. So
You're
if
worried
my
about
English is good enough, I don't know.
You're mine, and we're gonna make it better.
Thank you.
no pressure at all. So you're looking for some connections, Christopher.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to the right place. Thank you. So if anybody'd like to connect with Christopher regarding that and connecting him in, we can attest. And I've known Christopher now for a few weeks, and he's diligent, he's knowledgeable, he's talented, and he helps. So thank you for joining Global Chamber, and we look forward to connecting you to people that you can help, and you do help. So thank you. Congratulations. We're going to continue to move around the room, and feel free, all of you, to use the chat area and to connect up with each other, including Christopher. I think when you joined, your LinkedIn profile might have been fairly small, and it's still building. If you go to his website, you'll see that it's well accomplished. He does some really great work, and he's someone you can count on. Let's continue to go to all of our speakers. And I'd like to next, if you don't mind, Yuka, to bridge over to Brian Swords, because one of the things Kaoru mentioned was about the innovation of Japanese companies. And Brian has been right in the middle of that, in particular in the last several decades, being right in the way and being involved and supportive of Japanese companies coming to the US, innovative companies coming to the US, and supporting their success. And so, Christopher, Brian is someone you should definitely know. Almost every Japanese company that's in the US. Brian is probably on some sort of a first name basis with because of his work with the consulate of Japan. He's an award, Japanese government has awarded him recognition for support of Japan, the country of Japan. Through that work, he now has left the consulate. He's helping companies individually, but he still has an overall view of what's happening. And Brian, as you shared with the Global Chamber of Los Angeles, it's a record amount of foreign direct investment in the US and around the world for Japanese companies, a tale of two economies. One, the domestic economy in Japan, which is meh, but also the outside Japan economy, which is spectacularly hot and growing. And Brian, you're right in the middle of that. Could you share a little bit about your perspective of that?
Sure. Thank you, Doug. I bring a slightly different perspective because I've been overseas for the past 3 decades here in the Western US, bringing Japanese and deploying Japanese technology into the US market. So, for instance, here in Southern California alone, we have about 1,200 unique Japanese companies and about 2,400 separate enterprises. So all of the name brands are here. We lost Toyota recently, unfortunately. They moved to Plano and Frisco, Texas. But there's an awful lot happening here. If you take a look at the geographic arc, probably from Southern California, Arizona, Texas, it's probably the hottest area in the OECD for Japanese foreign direct investment, certainly, and for foreign direct investment in general, probably throughout the world. Here, just to give you an idea of a few stats written down here, 2010, there was a total of $58 billion of foreign direct investment external leaving Japan to the world. And about 20 billion of that was reinvested overseas earnings. Year 2023, $190 billion total foreign direct investment from Japan. 100 billion of that was overseas retained earnings. That's money that never made it back into Japan. So Japanese foreign direct investment overseas is becoming a self-licking ice cream cone. If you aggregate all of Japanese economic activity worldwide, we're looking at about 47% manufacturing activity takes place overseas. It's a mirror economy, and over 30% of the total economy of Japan is overseas now. So it's really a remarkable thing. There's an awful lot of growth happening, and really the hot growth prospects are chasing Japanese companies overseas for all of the reasons listed above. One would be population decline. Companies that do want to grow have to seek external markets. Another quick figure here. Of all industries that are already overseas, last year 1.2% only indicated that they're scaling back or withdrawing from the market. 67% are expanding, and 32% are keeping the status quo, right? That's for all overseas companies. For small, medium enterprises, which I believe is particularly encouraging because I really want to see small, medium Japanese companies expand overseas because that's where their future lies. 57% are expanding overseas, which is really a remarkable thing to me. We have a lot of things at play right now. And a couple of the issues, we have aging population. Yes, I think the aging population issue and Japan's advantages, comparative advantages, is gaining with the experience of a superannuated society. That's cutting both ways. We're having a lot of Japanese products and a lot of Japanese services come into the U.S., showing their best case and their know-how, actually. The China decoupling story is a really large story, politically sensitive perhaps, but it's really readjusting Japanese investment, and to secure their supply chains, more and more is coming into the United States, actually. Another issue which is really promising for the future, but again, politically sensitive perhaps, is the amazing increase in Japan's defense spending and the ability for Japanese companies to export arms overseas, and they've engaged in their first several export transactions very recently. Japan is the most trusted technology collaborator for the United States. They're one of 3 facilities that manufacture and assemble and maintain the F-35. It's quite amazing. And that level of trust is growing stronger. There's more collaboration, more interaction, and that's going to be a bright spot for the Japanese economy, but for chasing Japanese business investment overseas as well. And I guess that the third or the last category would be Japan just does a lot of things right. A lot of people here mentioned the green tech play. We're actually involved here in Southern California in deploying hydrogen economy. A lot of different things in motion and connected with some of the companies that were mentioned so far: Panasonic, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, Toyota Tsusho, Toyota. We have projects underway right now here in Southern California. And then infrastructure plays. Japan is very good at infrastructure, and the United States has significant needs in rebuilding infrastructure. Transportation, mass transit in particular. Retail is a really interesting bright spot. 25 years ago, we could not imagine as many restaurants that are Japanese headquartered or retail establishments. It's incredible, actually. And then contents, anime, etc. I'm here in Southern California, and we're seeing a huge blip upwards there too. So that's just from my perspective. Japan is not I don't think it's a diminishing economy. You know, the domestic economy, it's a shrinking population, per capita GDP growth. Hopefully, you know, we'll gain enough to keep the people happy. But the Japanese economy overseas is really robust and growing, and it's standing on its own legs right now with the overseas retained earnings.
Brilliant. Thank you, Brian. Brian is also part and on our Global Chamber Los Angeles Advisory Board, and he's a mentor to many, and as you can tell, very knowledgeable about Japan and Japanese companies doing business outside of Japan. Our last speaker, and then we'll open up the floor to questions for all the speakers, is Yuka Nakasone. She's a world-renowned expert in localization and globalization, and she layers in knowledge and an expertise in technology, and in particular artificial intelligence. So she's got a very unique background and a very uniquely qualified to speak about all of those topics. She happens to be also the executive director for Global Chamber in Spain. She has her own company where she combines her knowledge of technology and localization and globalization to help companies be successful in other locations. And Yuka, one of the and you've helped many companies, but certainly one that sticks in my mind for some reason is your own belief that Spanish wine made successful in Japan, so you have to be successful. So bring in the third leg of this triangle: U.S., Japan, and Spain, and you yourself are well connected in all 3 areas, living in Spain. Could you finish us up with your perspectives of the opportunities that you see, and anything else you'd like to comment regarding what you've heard here tonight?
Thank you very much for invitation and very kind introduction, as usual. And my name is Yuka Nakasone. I'm Japanese. I was born and raised in Japan, but I learned Spanish in the university, and then I came to Spain. And in the middle, I lived in the United States of America as well, in Boston area. There I studied localization. So I am more a localizer than anything else. But as he said, I'm very curious. So I did many internationalization work besides purely language and localization. And now being at the Global Chamber and in charge of Spanish metros, I'm learning to connect people worldwide and looking, really feeling how the markets are connecting and moving. And despite this challenging situations with geopolitical challenge, some companies are doing well. So I guess what I wanted to add a little bit, because Brian explained really well about Japan, that it's a country established world economy that is not just manufacturing and exporting, but they're investing in the world. We are, I mean, I'm Japanese, so I say we are the shareholder of the world in a way, and China is still not at the speed or at the level of Japanese people investing in foreign countries. As Brian explained very well about the US situation, I wanted to give you a little bit about Spain. Japan is the #1 investor in Spain for direct investment. Still 30% ahead of China. And as Kaori explained, Japan does really well deep tech as well. So being triangulation of a business, doing business among Japan, the US, and Europe, maybe Spain, is a very interesting formation, because Japan has the money funding, and the United States has innovation, coupling with the Japan's deep tech, and Spain can offer, let's say, the connecting point with Europe, the entering point for Europe and Latin America. China used this formation really well to enter to the Latin America using Spain as well. And now I guess Japan is coming to Spain a lot, and I can see this is happening as well. And not only Japan, United States, Spain, maybe we can do Japan, Canada, Spain, Japan, Mexico, Spain. If we talk about more than 2 bilateral collaboration of the, let's say, countries. I mean, when you do work, when you expand in the world, if you see these countries' strength and couple really well, maybe you can have more success. That's what I see. And at this moment, I'm working with Latin America and Canada and Europe. US is coming up right now as well. And despite all these world challenge, I think business are going to grow, and we are going to find a way. This is what I feel and I see that.
That's great information. Thank you very much. Are you leaving for Japan tonight? In a few hours, where are you headed coming up?
I'm headed to Mexico right now, and coming back.
Mexico. Oh,
Yeah, coming back on
that's
the
right.
Christmas
Sorry.
Eve. Yeah, Christmas Eve, I'm gonna fly to Japan, and I'm gonna stay for 7 weeks, and I do some work, deep work there as well. So if anybody in Japan would like to book my time, I'm available. I'm gonna be in Japan in January and February, so let's meet.
Fantastic. Thank you, Yuka, and enjoy your time in Mexico for sure.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'd love to kind of give my little 30-second elevator pitch and introduce myself.
Sure, Anita. Please go ahead. Have you been to Japan?
I have not, but my cousin's living there, and I actually connected him to Alexandra because they got there like a week apart, but they're in different places, but now they know each other. So hopefully
Okay.
they'll meet up while they're there.
Okay. Is that a
Yeah.
date situation or is that just an acquaintance situation?
You know what? I was hoping, except it turns out that my cousin has a girlfriend and she's going to be going and visiting him. So I
I
thought
see.
that, you don't know. I've learned through life you should never go there. Like that's just better left to the professionals. So
Exactly.
they'll
Sorry,
be friends.
Alexandra. Didn't mean to.
But
Very
she's
good.
already
So,
off. She's already off the call. But yeah. But anyways, hello everybody. Anita Rodal, president of SBPA Services. We represent several currency exchange companies and we help importers, global companies, real estate investors lower their rates and the risk of rate fluctuations in their cross-border payments. Within the US, we also broker SBA working capital loans as well as business and equipment loans. And then because I have an undergraduate degree in linguistics, I also offer pronunciation coaching, helping foreign business professionals, actors, and diplomats speak a more accent neutral or region neutral American English. Anita Rodal, SBPI Services.
sounds good. Have you worked with Brian over the years, Brian Swords?
You know, it's so funny. I just yesterday emailed Brian because I mean, I know him from LA Advisory Council, but I found an email that you sent us in 2023 introducing us, but I happened to be in Spain for that month. And so it like ended up like way down the list. And like I replied and said, "Oh, I'm out of the country right now. I'll reach out when I get back." And then I never did. So we're actually going to be talking tomorrow. So weird timing.
See you then.
Yes.
Fantastic. Is that a screensaver or is that a real tree, Brian?
That's a real trend.
Fantastic.
My children insisted as soon as we waited till Thanksgiving this time, but it went up immediately.
Yeah, when you, Brian, you heard the presentations on the Japanese market from Adam and Suzanne, was there anything in particular that resonated with you based on the companies that you see coming in to the U.S., things that people should be aware of? There certainly was a lot of alignment with what you said.
A lot of those categories, they really do overlap. Probably, depending on the region of the U.S., there's an awful lot of green tech investment happening here. There's an awful lot of not so green, but ultimately green. Hydrogen investment happening in Houston area, et cetera. Kind of an all of the above hydrogen strategy they're able to pursue wherever petroleum is handled. That's bleeding its way into California. California has much stricter requirements. They're looking for green hydrogen. But these projects are continuing apace. It's really very interesting, regardless of what, the Trump administration says. California sets its own course, and I'm very pleased. These are things that I've been working on for probably, I don't know, 20 years, really. And they're coming to fruition. On the healthcare side, there's an awful lot of expertise and know-how that the Japan side is starting to bring into the US. They have certain pilots that I'm aware of, but they're really ahead of us in terms of dealing with an aging society. I believe they would bring a lot of value to US facilities, and there is a smattering of investment actually. Ironically, they have one company, Three Diamond Realty, which is like a Mitsubishi subgroup. And they invested many, many years ago in care facilities, senior facilities. And those are, a really interesting model with the floor plan, and they bring a little bit of Japanese know-how into their operations. And a lot of them were situated here in Southern California, Orange County area, et cetera. And those have ended up being an amazing real estate boon. Those facilities are worth so much money just in terms of real estate value, that they're able to take some of that value and again reinvest it in operations here in the US. Really interesting. There's a lot of cross-pollination, a lot of overlap. Definitely cuts both ways.
Brian, can I chime in just on the tail end of what you're just saying? It's probably worth noting as well that we find for companies that are looking to the Japan market, it's often much faster to deal with the American, what's the word I'm looking for? The entity instead. For example, the Mitsubishi example you just gave there, if you've got a kind of device that you want to pilot inside a care facility, instead of asking the Japanese Mitsubishi, it's much easier just to go to the American and run a pilot because it's separate from the very risk-averse Japanese entity. So engage with Japanese in America is often a much faster path to Japan.
Yep, and that really holds true for just about every category, every sort of so-called startup category, be it an actual startup venture. It's a lot easier to collaborate with other Japanese firms, ironically, if you're active overseas, because all the barriers are down. Yeah. So for instance, on our hydrogen project, we have companies collaborating that are, they're vicious competitors. On the Japan side, we have the Sumitomos and the Hitachis. Everybody's joining hands and trying to make this thing work overseas as a so-called pilot. But, Japanese companies don't like to invest in losing causes. So the pilots, will generate a positive rate of return, actually. And the great thing about Japanese companies is that they're looking at, their comparative rate of return on a Japanese government bond is about 1.5%, 1.9%, right? And here in the US, on average, profitability is around 6, 7% for just about every company. So for them, that looks golden. And it's a stable market politically. And then there's so much depth to the relationship. It's just unbelievable how trusted Japanese technology suppliers are in the US. On the aerospace side, defense side, the largest subcontractor to SpaceX, foreign subcontractor, is Japan. Toray Carbon Fiber, they make the Dragon capsule, and they have a huge chamber that creates the Dragon capsule at the SpaceX facility in Hawthorne, California. And Toray guys are there 24 hours a day building capsules. So it's really amazing. High tech, high quality control components. And this is what, the US defense aerospace industry is hungry for. They really need it. They don't make it themselves anymore here in the States. Exotic metallurgy, Japan, maybe Germany, but Japan is a very trusted collaborating partner. So there's so much going on. It's from the consumer side, which is really fascinating to me. Retail stores, Uniqlo, ramen shops just everywhere, bakeries. It's fantastic. It's just so interesting.
Good, great thought. Annette, did you have a question?
Not really a question, but a little bit of sharing, if you don't mind, because this is very interesting, and just wanted to bring another perspective and kind of expand on what Brian was talking about. I'm actually in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm an Army veteran. I have a consulting business. But I serve on the board for the National Veteran Business Development Council. And we recently got a grant to help our veteran-owned businesses export, import, kind of reshore, try to help them be export ready. So we've been working with Caesar, and he's really helped us connect. We started in the UK, but I did have the opportunity to visit Japan twice. It was while I was on active duty, and we deployed and did a joint exercise with the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force. So a lot of respect there. Very, very excellent. But and North Carolina's got a huge presence. One of my clients is Fuji Diosin Biotechnology. They're just building a $3 billion contract manufacturing facility in Holly Springs. And most people have never heard of Holly Springs. You heard of Raleigh, Research Triangle Park, but they're an upcoming competitor to Research Triangle Park. Right. A lot of contract manufacturing going on there. So would love to have connections and see how we can support. We're looking for American veterans that have settled in other countries, maybe in Japan, or military veterans of another country, like in Japan, that have their business, that are looking to do business with corporate America. Because as a lot of our corporate members are global, do business overseas, Coca-Cola, whoever, and they want to use local suppliers, military veteran suppliers. So being able to identify them, certify them, and get connected to business opportunities is what we're looking to partner and connect with. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm going to take us way over here, but on the defense spending side, that's really something that if you're interested in what's going on in Japan and collaboration with the US, everybody should keep their eye on that. Because Japan is going from the 17th largest military expenditure country in the world a couple of years ago, and it's going to leapfrog up to number 3. It's going to be the 3rd largest budget in the world within a couple of years. And they don't, military is not very popular for Japanese youth, so they're not really going to increase the number of staff. The Navy is one of the best and most modern in the world right now. So a lot of that is going to go into facilities. Okay, so there are 53 bases in Japan that are, platforms for the U.S. military, and about 100,000 military independents in Japan, U.S. A lot of that money is going to go right into those facilities, building infrastructure, building reconnaissance areas for, the CIA and the DoD. There's going to be so much happening there. The Japanese government is of the mind that even though those facilities are U.S. facilities, that's Japanese territory.
Okay.
So those facilities, when they're restructured, rehabbed, there's going to be a lot of work, not only for the Jacobs Engineerings or the Fluor or the Bechtels that are going to be doing that work, but it's a real opportunity to collaborate with local companies in Japan.
Right.
And
Yeah,
build those relationships.
I would like to talk to you about that. Yeah, absolutely. So
we do need to wrap up. So what I'd do is have each one of the speakers just give a 30 to 60 second wrap up. We have another event that's just about to start. And so that's why we're kind of restricted on time. The intent of this program was to introduce some amazing people with great knowledge about the market, and this is beginning a series of conversations about the markets. The whole defense spending, Brian, oh my God, we saw that with the Japanese coming to Arizona so many times under your guidance, jumping over Phoenix and going to Tucson because of the defense industry. And that was the first time that was done this February, just a few months ago. And that's, I think, an indication of what you described. Could you give a quick wrap up of anything else you would like to leave us with in terms of what should we be left with from your presentation? 30 seconds?
Yeah, just an awful lot of growth. It all depends on where you look. It all depends on what you consider to be Japan. Japan is growing monumentally overseas. And again, $100 billion on the private sector side only of reinvested retained earnings overseas. 50 billion of that is going to go into the US next year. $819 billion stock foreign direct investment in the US right now from Japan. 1 million employees, direct employees that are Japanese firms in the US. That's going to be up to $1 trillion probably within 3 years. and it's the largest FDI nation in the US.
Suzanne and Adam, your information was spectacular. Just really great information. What wrap-ups do you each have? Maybe 30 seconds each.
Yeah, thank you. Suzanne, do you want to go first or shall I?
You go first.
Sure. Yeah, I guess just again tying on to what Brian said, a lot of growth domestically too. As we highlighted, these mega challenges present huge opportunities, particularly in the cutting edge sectors, because Japan is just not fast enough at innovation. They're risk averse by nature. So huge opportunity, particularly for companies from North America here. And there's not enough talent working on these problems. So yeah, would love to, hear from any of you, would love to collaborate more. Just very bullish and very positive on the Japanese economy on the whole, and also a little bit scared, to be honest, because if Japan, slowly shrinks away, it will be a real shame for me and my family and my kids growing up. I want to see them living in a Japan that's just as strong as it is now too. So yeah, would love to connect with any of you, and thank you again. I learned a lot today as well. That was awesome, Susanna.
Thank you. I can just echo Adam's feedback. Learned a lot, especially about the defense area, Brian. Sad to see, though, that the direction is going there, but I see all the opportunities. And yeah, really great information. I'm always a fan of H-Tech since we will be there at some point anyway in our lives. So it's very valuable. And I can always emphasize considering the human who is using the product. And I think it's exciting to see how humans and technology will evolve together for a better life. So thanks, everyone. Happy to connect on LinkedIn.
Great information, both of you, and for all the speakers. Yuka, how about you? Thank you so much for being the most difficultly placed person in the world this time. What wrap-up would you like to share? What would you like to leave us with?
It was extremely interesting because the defense side, I wasn't aware about defense spending, so I'm going to take a look at it. And what we didn't talk about today was AI, right? We always talk about AI, but we didn't talk about AI.
General, right? Yep.
And actually, Japanese AI is evolving very uniquely, and it's very interesting. And they're very quiet. They don't have kind of voice. So maybe that's something that I'm going to dig into when I'm in Japan, expanding the session from today. And that's what I'm kind of thinking. Thank you very much.
Interesting perspective, as always. Our last person will have the final word is Kaoru Nishinakagawa. Your expertise is extraordinary. Did you learn anything today? What did you think, and what would you like to leave us with?
Well, I more reconfirm, wow, yes, that's happening. Especially, I don't want to echo everyone's opinion, but defense is massive. I've been closely watching defense and space industry between Japan and Australia, and Japan just won a massive contract, $10 billion contract from the Australian Navy, just the industry for Mogami class frigate. So that Australia, Japan, US is always connected in terms of the united front for the defense, and usually India supposed to be there as a quad. It's a little bit it's not that active, but that's where they always see opportunity. But for me personally, probably space industry, it's not about Australia today, so I won't go into the detail, but there's always a chance to connect all of us together. And I love that Spain can be the connection point to the Europe, of course, and also the South America. That's a great point to take away for me. And great to meet you all, and thank you for your input today.
Thank you all for your comments. The information you shared was just brilliant. You mentioned Australia, Kaoru. There was intending to be an Australia-US France meeting yesterday about this same time, but one of the speakers has a baby problem in terms of being delivering a little bit too early. So we knew that was coming. So we were able to adjust that to January. So we're going to be adjusting that accordingly so that everybody's more comfortable, including the baby. And they have he or she has their care. Thanks everybody for really a great program. We'll have another one of these coming up early in 2026. In the meantime, have a great holiday. Have a great rest of your week and a great rest of December. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao. Buen viaje, Yuka.
Gracias, gracias, nos vemos. Hasta
De
luego.
nada. Chaito.
Chao.
Okay.